This team does not quit, y'all. This team will not quit. The Bulls somehow pulled off a 19-point comeback victory against the Boston Celtics in Boston, as the Bulls were down by 14 going into the fourth quarter, but they won by 14 to end the game. Just an incredible comeback victory for this Bulls team. We're going to talk about the bench mob. We're going to talk about the Billy Donovan making so many changes at halftime that worked so well in the second half. We're going to talk about DeMar DeRozan's 37-point game and Zach LaVine turning it up in the fourth quarter. We're going to get to it all. But before we get into that, make sure you hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Welcome back to TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel, as we're going to talk about this game. I was not planning on making a video, actually. If this was like a normal loss or like a normal win for the Bulls, I would just be like, I'm going to take this one off. I got a lot of schoolwork to do. But instead, though, the Bulls had an incredible comeback performance. I need to talk about it. And we're going to just kind of go right into it, honestly. I want to get to film. I had to wait a little bit to make this video because the highlights didn't come out until a little bit later here. But I want to get into film in this video as well. So that'll be closer towards the end, breaking down some things. But I just want to start off by let's just start off with like the game, right? If you did not watch the game, just take note of this: 39 points by the Bulls in the fourth quarter, and only 11 for Boston. But let's start at halftime. All right. So at halftime, the Bulls did not look too great. They had the lead, multiple points in this game. First quarter, they were hitting all their threes. They had a very big lead. Boston came back. The second unit in the start of the second quarter, I believe, had a 7-point lead, but then Jaylen Brown got hot. Boston came back. But at that point, you're like, man, so the Bulls had two good runs, and it just wasn't working. The big thing was this, though. The Bulls had 12 turnovers in the first half, which is very unusual for them. As we've seen from this team, that this team is so far pretty good with ball security, at least through 6 games, and now 7. But this was very unusual for the Bulls to have 12 turnovers by the end of the first half. Like, that's just very unusual to see. And secondly was 3-point defense. The Boston Celtics were just destroying the Bulls from 3-point range. But specifically, it was Jaylen Brown and some other guys. But I was also looking at Jason Tatum. Like, Jason Tatum was like also getting hot. So it's like it was those main two guys for the Boston Celtics that needed to be stopped. Or, something had to be changed from that Bulls defense, because we were seeing it did not matter if Lonzo Ball was on them or whoever was guarding those guys, and they were getting contested on their shots. It didn't matter, though. They were just making every single shot. So unless, you really change up something, which Donovan did, those guys were just going to continue to scorch the Bulls, because it did not matter if they were being heavily guarded. They were going to hit their shots. But two things going into that halftime was the turnovers and then the 3-point defense, but specifically the main two guys for the Boston Celtics. And Billy Donovan did, I think, a fantastic job during halftime, because he decided that even though this defense for the Bulls has been working pretty well all season, they needed to switch things up. And I'm happy that Billy Donovan isn't like, using his ego to be like, well, this defense is fine. Like, what this should work in the second half, and just kind of leave things as is. Because there need to be adjustments in this game, like, very obviously. And Donovan recognized it, and it's just like, yeah, we need to make adjustments, and he's like, let's do this instead. He didn't stick to the initial defensive system, and it's like, let's do this, and which was they took the ball out of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's hands in the second half. Like, we saw, I've said it, like, we were seeing Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they were just scorching us. It just did not matter what was happening, specifically Jaylen Brown. Like, you could, heavily contest this shot, it was going in. But the way to stop that is to get the ball out of those guys' hands. And we really saw this get put into effect in the fourth quarter. As usually one of those guys is like out there to start that fourth quarter, but we made sure that whoever was out there, if your name was Tatum or Brown, you are not getting the ball. Or if you did get the ball, like you brought it up court, it was an immediate blitz on a pick and roll, or it was an immediate double team in the post. Like, we saw Jason Tatum at one point dribble the ball up the court and try to push with pace, but we saw the Bulls immediately double team him on the baseline, even though it was a transition. It was a transition opportunity for the Celtics. It was just immediate double team on Jason Tatum, get the ball out of his hands, and Billy Donovan just put in the right idea. Like, this was the perfect idea against this Boston Celtics team, because we needed the other guys, the Schroeders, the Josh Richardsons, the Marcus Smarts, those guys, we wanted them taking the shots instead. And now, don't get me wrong, they were hitting them initially. But, when the game starts getting a little bit closer and it comes into the fourth quarter, I would rather have Marcus Smart taking a 3-point shot than Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. And luckily, that's what the Bulls were able to force. And that's what got the Bulls back in it, as we saw. The Celtics could not score in that fourth quarter, as their main two guys were just being double-teamed immediately. And I would much rather see, Al Horford take a wide-open three than, let Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown get an open shot, or just even a contested shot, one-on-one matchup, right? And Billy Donovan let that plan roll out, and that's what got us the win today. Other thing, too, is this. I said that the Bulls had 12 turnovers by the halftime. Look, only 14 turnovers for the game. It was a very good second half rebound by the Chicago Bulls, as they had two major issues going to halftime. They addressed both issues, and they also found another thing in the fourth quarter specifically that I'm going to talk about right here, which was that the Boston Celtics, man, I was not happy initially with this game. The Bulls were getting out-rebounded at the beginning of this game, and I was very, very upset. And I was like, this Bulls team should not be getting out-rebounded. Like, this is one of the teams that they're actually kind of like bigger against. I had some people question that on Twitter. Don't know why. Vucevic is taller than Robert Williams. Vucevic is taller than Al Horford. And I understand Javonte Green's playing power forward and Al Horford's in the starting lineup, but Javonte Green is the same size as Marcus Smart, or even taller than Marcus Smart. Lonzo Ball is taller than Marcus Smart, or, he's just as tall as Jaylen Brown, right? Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, they're basically the same height as Jason Tatum. Like, this wasn't a team where the Bulls were outsized at all. Like, we've gone against teams where the Bulls have been completely outsized, and we saw it on the glass. But in this specific game, where you have Robert Williams and Al Horford as the center guys, and Grant Williams, who's 6'6", also playing center, there is no reason for the Bulls to get out-rebounded. And I was not very happy with the rebounding initially. And the Bulls took care of that in the fourth quarter. Not really the third, but it was more the fourth quarter they really took care of it. But man, I'm telling you, Vucevic should win the rebounding battle against Robert Williams or Al Horford. There is no exceptions there. And the other guys, I mean, they're about the same height. So again, it's not like we're outsized at all. Like, I think the only mismatch is Al Horford, whoever is trying to box him out. But at the end of the day, then you should still be, relatively similar in size. So it was just a bad look initially. But as I say this, I'm also thinking, hey, the Celtics aren't that big. They don't have that much rim protection. And the Bulls got off to that incredible, 3-point shooting, streak in the first quarter. The Bulls hit their first 5 threes in this game, and that wasn't going to last. But I'm like, this is great, but this is not going to last against this Boston Celtics team, because one, the Bulls aren't that great of a 3-point shooting team, but number two, the Celtics perimeter defense is their specialty. Like, they're good on the perimeter, but when you got Robert Williams down there, who's a pretty decent shot blocker for what I've seen, and now an older Al Horford, you need to attack the rim. And we saw the Bulls really attack the rim in this game. I'm going to show you a little bit in the film here, as I do want to get to film in this video. But let's look at the box score real quickly here. First thing I want to kind of point out is the bench mob. Look at the plus minus. Derrick Jones Jr., Alex Caruso, Tony Bradley, and Ayo Dosunmu. And it was with Zach LaVine that those 4 guys got the Bulls back into the game. And these guys really implemented the Billy Donovan defense that he wanted to put in at halftime. And that they did such a fantastic job of double teaming Brown and Tatum when they were in scoring positions, got the ball out of their hands, got deflections. If there was a drive to the rim, you saw Tony Bradley blocking the shot or just giving the rim protection. That group got a lot of deflections, whether it was block steals or just hitting the ball at the very least. Like, they were really starting to muck up the game and slow down the Celtics offense, which was really good to see. Excuse me, my allergies are not doing me some justice here. But then the main other thing then was that we saw Zach LaVine really turn it up. And the main thing with Zach is that he was having a horrible night shooting, as we see 1 for 8 from 3-point range right here. But we saw him really turn it up in the fourth quarter. But I want to show you this right here. And this is what I was saying initially. Like, the Boston Celtics aren't that big. And when they don't have Williams and Horford out there, they're even smaller, right? And so right here, it's just a simple pick and roll between Vucevic and LaVine. And this is what was happening in the fourth quarter that I thought should have been happening all game. But look, Al Horford's a fantastic defender, but he's older now, man. He's not that great rim protector that, like, he used to be, right? this dude isn't like, he's just not what he was before. He doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the agility anymore. He can't get up as high as LaVine. Like, you need to attack this man. And right here, this is what all they wanted all game was just go at the rim. And we saw Zach LaVine absolutely take over in that fourth quarter by just going right to the rim, right? And it wasn't just LaVine. It was also the entire Bulls team was just going right to the rim. We saw Derrick Jones Jr. finish a really tough layup inside because of a tip by Vucevic, but he was contested by Al Horford, but Al Horford can't block that shot, right? It's just, I was just astounded to see that the Bulls finally, like, initially they weren't going to the paint, but then they all of a sudden finally did, and man, oh man, I was like, finally, they started seeing, like, hey, this Boston Celtics team does not have that, like, a great rim protector, right? But shout out to the bench mob. They deserve the game ball, like Derrick Jones Jr. and I would assume specifically. Those guys deserve the game ball, as Derrick Jones Jr. did such a fantastic job guarding either Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum while he was out there. And I would assume, man, 6 for 6. What a game for him. 14 points, hit a big three at the end of the third, hit a big three in the middle of the fourth that got the Bulls the lead. It was a great game by Ayo Dosunmu, and I give Ayo Dosunmu a lot of credit here because, man, I was kind of thinking, like, I'm happy with him getting minutes, but I thought Donovan was playing him a little bit too much, but he proved me wrong today because he's showing that he can absolutely play defense, and he flows so well in this offense as well. But other thing, too, is this. I want to go to game charts here. But I mentioned, points in the paint, right? Look, the Bulls got 54. I'm like, hey, this is kind of your strength, right? The Bulls aren't that great of a three-point shooting team, but I started thinking they started to fall in love with it a little too much in the first half. I'm like, you need to go to the rim, man. Like, the Celtics just don't have that rim protection, and they finally started doing that in that second half, and look what they got. Also, by the way, just look at this, man. The Bulls shot 57% from the field. This is not what, like, if you watch this game, you would not think that. Like, you would think the Bulls were not shooting that great, but they ended up shooting pretty well. The fourth quarter really helped, and also then they did their jobs on the boards. I was criticizing them a lot in the first half, but they turned it around. 30 assists as well for this Bulls team, so really good to see overall. I want to talk about DeMar DeRozan right now, as this dude, man, I would call him the MVP so far of this for the team through 7 games, as I think DeMar DeRozan has really kind of carried this Bulls team at multiple times, with LaVine having that thumb injury, and you can tell he's not 100%, but honestly, the big thing is this. I mean, we saw in the first half that this Bulls team was kind of struggling, and DeRozan had 21 points in that first half, and he was kind of the only source of offense for this Bulls team that you can consistently rely on in that first half, and thank God for him. And then he came in, had a pretty decent third quarter, and then he closed it out in the fourth as well, as I do want to kind of look at a play here by DeRozan real quickly. But, man, this dude, he deserves so much credit. I said to all those critics, like, I gave the Bulls an A for the DeMar DeRozan signing, or the sign-in trade. I was like, that's an A type of signing. A lot of people are saying worst signing in the offseason. I'm like, no. You're going to see DeMar DeRozan is a fantastic player. And even Bulls fans are saying DeMar DeRozan was a terrible signing. I'm like, no. You're going to see how much we needed DeMar DeRozan, and you're seeing it now, right? This is why DeMar DeRozan's here, as he can carry the load while Zach LaVine is, dealing with that thumb. But even if he's not scoring, and LaVine was just not scoring through the first 3 quarters, but he turned it up in the fourth quarter, and he's part of the reason why the Bulls got back into this. Last thing I want to look at in the box score here was the assists by the Bulls. As give credit to Vucevic and give credit to LaVine here, as they led the team with the assists tonight. Both these guys, their shots weren't really falling, and with Vucevic, his shot never really went down this game. I thought the Bulls probably should have went to Vucevic a little bit more, as I think he has a size mismatch over Al Horford or Robert Williams. I think he's bigger than both and could have just easily went to the post for both. I thought I should have shot it more, but give him credit though, because even though his shot is just not falling, he's still playing within the flow of the offense. He's not forcing inside shots, right? And the same with LaVine. LaVine did not really force that many shots today. Even though he was struggling, he wasn't forcing anything. So just give credit to those guys when their shots not falling. They're finding DeRozan, right? Or they're finding the cutters to keep the flow of the offense going. And if they don't do this, we don't win this game. So just good overall stuff from that. Now, I wanted just to point out this right here with DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan, I don't remember the exact stat, but I think he only had two games where he hit 2 threes or more last season. And a lot of people were saying with the DeMar DeRozan signing, like, oh, this dude doesn't shoot threes, or like he's not that great of a 3-point shooter. So it's like as he ages, it's not going to go very well for him. Now, I'm not calling him a great 3-point shooter at all. I'm not even calling him good. But you have to understand that DeMar DeRozan was playing in a Greg Popovich San Antonio Spurs system. And that system just does not shoot threes, right? And not only that, DeMar DeRozan was really forced into being like the main dude on that team, especially when LaMarcus Aldridge, got, waived and everything. Like that dude, like DeMar DeRozan was put into being the sole playmaker in the post in the Greg Popovich system. And that's the reason why, he didn't shoot that many threes, and nor did he make that many threes under the San Antonio Spurs. But I want to point out, DeMar DeRozan actually shot the three pretty okay with his last season with the Toronto Raptors. And that's when DeRozan was a 27-point per game scorer. Like, that at that point, DeRozan was actually shooting the three pretty respectfully. It's like, God, English. He was shooting it pretty all right. And it wasn't like he was shooting it like in his like career number wise. It was like he was shooting it over 30%. I think it was like 33% or 34%. So it's like maybe it was even higher, maybe like 37%. But either way, though, all I'm trying to say is that DeRozan shot the three more in that last season with Toronto. And so when he's out of the Greg Popovich system, he's going to be able to shoot more threes, and more specifically corner threes. And if you get him that catch and shoot 3-point shot, these are going to go down. Not every time. I'm just saying it's just going to go down. Like these are like you actually have to guard him from here. And right here, this is a big shot. And as he hit the shot earlier, and it didn't count, but then he comes back same spot and then hits the shot again. Like DeRozan, I'm just saying, like in this Bulls offense, he's going to be able to hit those types of shots, as he has the freedom now to shoot those threes, right? As he didn't have it in San Antonio. But also, man, his mid-range game, and specifically, we saw him go to the rim a lot in the first half. Like he was the only person taking advantage of that, smaller Celtics interior. He really understood what to do tonight, and that's the reason why he had 37 points. I mean, talk about an incredible 2-game stretch. 32 points against the Jazz and then 37 points against the Boston Celtics. Incredible stretch for DeMar DeRozan. Man, I hope all the haters are quiet right now, because this dude right here has been by far the best player for the Bulls so far in 7 games. And this Bulls team would not be 6-1 with that if they didn't have him. So, man, oh man, give credit to DeMar DeRozan. I think that's actually the last little bit of film I want. One more thing right here. Again, take advantage of what the defense is giving you, right? First off, he could post up Peyton Pritchard right here. Like this is too easy for him as well. But if you're gonna run the pick and roll, right? If Robert Williams is gonna stay so far back, take the mid range. As you see right here, Williams is so far back. Like he doesn't need to be this far back. DeRozan at the free throw line. Williams is like 8 feet from the rim. This is too much space, right? And DeRozan, a lot in transition, was getting right to the rim. But in like this second quarter where the Bulls were kind of going on that run, like you just see right here, it's like, oh, this is simple for DeRozan. He takes what the defense just gives him. If they're gonna give him the mid range, he's gonna take it, right? And it's just high IQ basketball from DeMar DeRozan. His mid range game, man, one of the best ever in the game of basketball. So I've talked long enough, as I see with the timer over here. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the Bulls win against the Boston Celtics. Comeback victory. This Bulls team does not quit, man. But make sure you hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.